Unscripted.
Each console generation, we're supposed to get improvements everywhere across the board, but on top of these improvements, we're also supposed to get a lot of the things that were already good to begin with, right? Like, I thought we did a really bad job moving from the Xbox 360, PS3 era into PS4, Xbox One in terms of the features, right? Like, the Xbox 360, the PS3, they had features that we just didn't get for some reason on the newer consoles this generation, right? Like, right out of the gate, we didn't get stuff. We had to, ask for stuff that we had previously. I think, like, playing background music and things like that. There's a lot of other things that come to mind, but you're supposed to get improvements, right? In addition to what you already had. So take everything we have now and then add even more onto it next generation. That's what we're supposed to get. And the games are the same way. We're supposed to get improvements over the games. Games are supposed to continually get better. The experience is better. Everything is supposed to be better. And in a lot of instances, these companies don't listen. And then you have certain instances where they do listen, but they don't really get enough credit for it. And again, I think that Sony has really kind of outclassed Microsoft in a lot of these ways, because Microsoft just doesn't seem to want to listen as much as Sony does in terms of what gamers are actually asking for. I know that Microsoft has delivered on certain things, but is that what we asked for, or is that what they want for their bottom line, for their own personal future? I think that's a huge difference going between Xbox and PlayStation and the different philosophies. I feel like Xbox wants everything to be an app or a service. PlayStation doesn't want that. I feel like, you can have, you're counting on, one hand how many players you have, but you can also count up how many consoles you're selling, and that's important as well as how much software you're selling. So with that being said, there's obvious things going into next generation that PlayStation needed to get better. Now, are all these things, going to be better? Well, we don't really know. We don't really know per se yet, but we do know that Sony has made incredible strides to get the most out of what they have, and I think that this is going to be a pretty good video to kind of dictate that. First and foremost, I kind of want to point out that Sony has officially said, for some reason there was some kind of rumors that the PlayStation 5 release date was delayed into 2021, but that's not true. That's not the case. They've responded to that. Again, they've not officially announced anything release date wise into 2021, but there is some people that are panicking about it. They've actually firmly cemented that November is going to be the release date, and there's some people obviously have had their pre-orders pushed into 2021, but that's just the reality. When you have like the hottest thing going, that's just the reality of the nature of how things are going to be. And again, we have to completely kind of look at where both Microsoft and Sony are able to come from on this. The main thing that I see is, these companies realistically want us to buy their console as soon as possible, right? Like, we can sit there and try to deny it one way or the other, but as far as I could tell, that's what these companies want, right? They want us to be able to buy these consoles. They want these consoles to be available as much as possible. They want all of us to be able to go out there and sort of, support things as much as possible. They don't want a lack of stuff, because at launch is when you're going to come out with the most. You're probably going to sell your most hardware at launch by people who are really looking forward to it. So obviously they want as much as possible out there. So Sony has totally refuted that. They definitely are going to be, releasing their console when they said they would, and I think that's super important. I mean, the bottom line is you want people to get your console, and these companies want people to get them as well. So that's very important for Sony to come out there and say, hey, you know what? We're not going to delay anything. Nothing's delayed. That's what I really kind of need to sort of reiterate. Aside from that, we got a bunch of people. You're never going to please everybody, right? People have high expectations for things, thinking something is something that it's not. We had some influencers, some Japanese YouTubers and stuff like that, able to play and sit down with the PlayStation 5 and give their opinions and previews and reviews, and get a chance to actually go out there and play around with these games and stuff. And we got some pretty incredible stuff out of that, right? I'm not sure what people were expecting. Maybe people were expecting teardowns or something. That was never the case. Why would YouTubers tear down a console? It makes no sense. That's really more or less something that's something like Digital Foundry would do. But we did get some interesting things. Like Sony did listen here. The PS5, for instance, has no noticeable fan noise at all, and it remains cold and cool after 80 minutes of play. So think about that in comparison to what we've seen so far with the PlayStation 4, PlayStation 4 Pro. Mine, of course, is off getting fixed, but even before that point, when I play anything, most notably The Last of Us 2, Ghost of Tsushima, Avengers, my PlayStation 4 Pro sounded incredibly loud, like it was a jet engine taking off, and it would just, I would sometimes wonder what it is. And I could also, like, mine's in a pretty well ventilated place, and I even have a cooling fan underneath of it with like LEDs around it, so it looks pretty cool. But you know, I have the cooling fans that's underneath of it just to keep things extra cool, because my PS4 Pro tends to get super hot. Right? Like, believe it or not, like, that thing gets super hot, and it's not, I don't think it's really supposed to, but the fact of the matter is, it would get hot within 10 minutes of playing, whereas now we're seeing that despite the fact that a lot of people were spreading this FUD around about the PlayStation 5 and it being loud and it being, you know, being hot and stuff like that, again, that's really counterproductive to what this thing is all about. If you look at the design of this thing, it's designed to keep cool, and I think that's pretty obvious right from the outset that that's exactly what we have here, is a situation where this thing is extremely cool, and it looks like it's going to be doing wonders for people that had a problem with the loudness of the previous PlayStations or the heat of the previous PlayStation. So according to this, the PS5 has no noticeable fan noise at all, and apparently remained cool after more than 80 minutes of play, according to this report, which I will, of course, link in the description below, and you guys can check that out and peruse it on your own specific times. The report, which was under embargo after hands-on with the console, claims that the PS5 is pretty much deathly quiet and marks a massive departure over the PS4, PS4 Slim, and most notoriously the PS4 Pro console in this regard. So all the aforementioned consoles have been unflatteringly equated to that of a jet engine, which I already just said, when being used with taxing games like God of War, The Last of Us Part 2, and again, this is something that's going to be really, really good to sort of see. Elsewhere, there was another outlet that's just reinforcing the fact that the PS5 is shaping up to be the quietest PlayStation console ever made. Specifically, this person mentioned that all the vents on the front top side, depending on the orientation of the console, with the main exhaust bringing in the back, that helps the PS5's cooling solution tremendously. So again, they're all saying that this thing is not only the quietest PlayStation that Sony has ever created, but it is also by far the coolest as well, which I think is going to be very important, because you needed that cooling system to be out there to you know, sort of take advantage of what they were going to be able to take advantage of in terms of just getting out there and having this thing ready for people to take home. And you know, again, I'm not sure exactly why there's so much fear, uncertainty, and doubt kind of spread around about the PlayStation 5. Like, honestly, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me, and the reason why it doesn't make a lot of sense to me is that, you know, Sony and Microsoft both have worked extremely hard on these consoles. I realize that, you know, the you know, where we see a situation where the Xbox 360 had problems with overheating and the red ring of death and stuff like that. But since that point, and I don't think Sony has ever had that kind of problem, but anyway, since that point, pretty much, we haven't really seen any kind of situation where, you know, either of these makers have made a console that was too hot, or, you know, or realistically that loud. Like, I get the Xbox has been really kind of spoiling us as fans, because we were able to enjoy this thing, and you know, and it's incredible just the way that it's been able to kind of been deathly quiet. You know, it's been super quiet, and I think that's awesome. But with that being said, how awesome is it that, you know, we keep seeing that, you know, Sony actually went out there and listened? If you think about it, right, Sony honestly didn't have to do anything at all in terms of going out there and fixing or making a better controller, or adding things onto a controller, or upgrading things. They could have just kept status quo, and they were still going to win. Let's be honest, they're still going to win. Again, I just feel like that's something that it's just inevitable. PlayStation is a worldwide franchise, a worldwide brand name, and people respect it worldwide, and it was going to win regardless. But they could have really went lazy about it and not did that, or not did backwards compatibility. I don't think it would have been a huge deal. A few people would have been outraged, quote unquote, but you have to think about it. The Xbox One has been backwards compatible for years now, and it hasn't helped sell Xboxes. Okay, it's not a huge selling point. The amount of people actually playing backwards compatible games isn't a tremendous amount. But to Sony's credit, over 4,000 games are going to be backwards compatible, and I feel like that's a good checkpoint to have selling your new console. Completely redesigned controller, also another incredibly important checkpoint to having and selling a new console. Now we just need to have the games. Again, Sony has showed tons of games. They could have just rested on their laurels, but no, they've showed a boatload of games, and a lot of these games, including the next God of War and Horizon games, are coming next year. This is absolutely incredible in my opinion, and the fact that we see this coming so soon really shows that, again, they've learned from the past, right? They can't sit there and have a situation where they don't have games to go early on. Microsoft, on the other hand, hasn't seemed to learn that you need exclusive games to really kind of push your platform. So that's something that's going to be a bad part for them. With that being said, I'm going to link all this stuff. What do you guys think about this? Sony definitely learning and playing the long game. Let me know in the comments below. This has been Crapgamer Reviews. Take a minute to consider subscribing. Share it out. All that kind of great stuff. It means the world to me. Rack 'em up. Have a great day. Game on, my friends. Game on. Please stay safe, happy, and healthy. Crapgamer, out.
Unscripted.